Hello, this is David from DN Cognitive Counseling. Tonight I would like to discuss a little bit about what Jordan Peterson talks about in his book, Maps and Meaning. In Peterson's book, he likes to break down the old myths, specifically from the Bible, and explain the psychological ramifications and how it affected things in history and how we see things. I'm going to link Jordan Peterson's discussion about maps and meanings in reference to Cain and Abel below in the comment section. But tonight, I'd like to do a little bit of a conversation about this specific idea, and hopefully I'll be able to add something that maybe Peterson would agree with, maybe disagree with, but I hope it will give more insight and hopefully open a discussion, and also be able to understand certain aspects of human behavior and history that a lot of people look at and go, wow, human beings were just out of their minds. They're just crazy people. They do insane things, and this idea of religion was so insane. And I hope to give it a little bit of context tonight to give you some understanding. If you take a look at Genesis chapter 4, it's the story of Cain and Abel. Now, the entire story takes place in about 10 sentences. That's the entire story. I'm not going to get involved in the after effects. I just want to understand the certain concepts that Peterson seems to not explain nor deal with, and I want to give it a little bit more meat. It opens up in the first sentence, "The man knew his wife Eve, and she conceived and gave birth to Cain, saying, I produced a male child with the help of the Lord." So the idea was that man, together with women and God, coming together to produce this child. And that's actually a theme that you'll see very much in almost all religious ideology, that somehow God or even the gods interact with man to be able to help to foster things to come about. Number 2, she gave birth to his brother Abel. Abel became a herder of flocks, and Cain a tiller of the ground. So this seems to be a superfluous verse because it tells you that Abel became, and first, a herder of flocks, and then Cain, who's the older one. You assume, if you were going to be telling the story in chronological order, Cain first comes to being. He's the older of the brothers. He should first be the tiller of the ground. So it should say you have first, and then Abel, the herder of the flocks. But yet, the order is reversed. I wonder why that is. 3, in the course of the time, Cain brought an offering to the Lord from the fruit of the ground. Now again, it goes back to Cain first, right, after it told you about Abel. And he says that he went ahead and brought an offering to God. In the next verse, while Abel, for his part, brought from the fatty portion of the firstling of his flock. And the Lord looked with favor on Abel and his offering. So something's taking place here that somehow they both bring decide at this time to bring a offering, right? Nobody said to them, by the way, Cain, Abel, I'd like you to bring an offering. We're going to do this little contest. Let's set this up. This is not what goes on here. But on Cain and his offering, he did not look favor. So Cain was very angry and dejected. That was the next verse. The 6th verse, and the Lord said to Cain, why are you angry? Why are you dejected? The next verse, if you act rightly, you will be accepted. But if not, sin lies in wait at your door. It urges for you, and yet it can rule over you. Now I'm confused. What sin did Cain do? He was angry and dejected for something that wasn't going his way. He wanted to bring something. He wanted to honor God. He gets dejected. Wouldn't that be the normal reaction? To feel dejected and angry? Cain says to his brother Abel, let us go out in the field. Again, what is this let us go out in the field? When they were in the field, Cain attacked his brother Abel and killed him. Now, this is the part where the story really ends for what I want to talk about here tonight. These first 8 verses, I want to analyze a little bit more. And I want to give it context in a way that maybe you've never heard it before. So, and I think it will help us to understand certain behaviors that humans have done throughout history. So the first thing we see is that the switching of Abel and Cain. There's an argument going on between the two of them. There's something philosophical that they're disagreeing about. Abel became the herder. Cain, a tiller of the ground. Cain brings the fruit from the ground, Abel from his flocks, and they bring it both before the Lord to see who's right. Now, right about what? Well, the idea is this. When Abel brought the fruit was already disconnected. It was a representation of the ground. Cain was basically saying that this world that we're in, this is what's important. Our actions and what we do are only important for here. What did Abel bring? Abel brought a live animal. And what did he do with this animal? He sacrificed it. And what was the intention of sacrifice? To say to Cain, no, we are in this world, but what we're working towards and what is important is for the next world. That's the fundamental difference between the two of them. Where Abel is saying this world is less important. It's important insofar as earning the reward for the next world. Cain was saying, no, it's all about the ground. It's all about what we're here. It's all about us being in this moment. Which now explains from that standpoint what God says to Cain. What God says to Cain. When he says to him, why are you so angry? Why are you dejected? If you act rightly, if you change your point of view that is incorrect, then all you will do is be accepted at that point. All you have to do is see that you're right. Change to being correct. Don't stay in the same mindset. Learn to grow. You don't need to stay that way. The idea of basically of repent for your ideology. But that's not what happens. Cain says to his brother Abel, let's go out in the field. Now when he says let's go out in the field, what's his idea? To continue the argument. To keep the fight. This will also explain what led for Cain to kill his brother. When you're arguing with somebody and you're saying that this world is the world and the other person is saying no, the next world is the world, and you're really getting heated about that, you think the next world is the world? You think that this world means nothing? I'll bring you to the next world and you'll see. The act of Cain killing Abel was a way of him saying, I'm going to end this argument by showing you that you're wrong by sending you there. And then you'll see I'm right. That's the argument. Now, if you take a look at human behavior through history, you'll notice that sacrifice is huge in every culture, in every society, almost in the entire world. And you think about it, they're constantly killing things. And you say to yourself, well, why are we doing this for? Why are we killing things for? What is the purpose of killing having to do serving? And if you understand the symbolism of it, which I think was understood by the ancient people, that what we're doing here is by sending this, we're sending a message to us that this world is not the end-all and be-all. It is a transitory conduit to get to the next world, which is philosophically a very different point of view than somebody who's living for this world. And now you could see why so many people will sit and say, emotionally, why I'm not being accepted in this world. I think that this world's the important world. And what happens in this world is what I believe and what I think is right. And why another person will say, this world is not that important. This world's only transitory. What you do in this world is not so important. It's what you're doing in this world that leads to the next world that becomes important. This is why somebody can get on an airplane and kill themselves with a belief system that they're doing the right thing. Now, I'm not debating who's right and who's wrong. I'm helping people to understand that these things have a deep-rooted psychological framework in our mindsets, in our psyches, from basically the beginning of human history. These stories have been around a very, very long time. And these ideas have been around a very, very long period of time. Now, whether you believe in them or not is not what's relevant. But hopefully, to understand what the myth is talking about and what the idea is will be help people to understand certain aspects of human behavior that we didn't understand before. So that when the Aztecs were taking a virgin and killing her, it was an idea that this world was transitory, that this person was, in a sense, dying for the sins of others. And that mindset might seem very absurd to certain people and less absurd to others, even though it might be the next degree. Because human sacrifice was not deemed to be acceptable for a lot of people. But in cultures across societies, human sacrifice was. But at least the aspect of understanding where it comes from and understanding this mindset might be better help to explain some of the ideas and behaviors behind it. I hope that you found this video helpful. I do wonder if Jordan Peterson would ever see this and what he would think. And of course, if you like this video, hit like. If you disliked it, I'd like to hear why you disliked it, but very happy to hear that as well in the comment section below. And of course, if you didn't subscribe to the channel, please do. And if you'd like to support this, to become a patron to this endeavor, you have the Subcribe-star link below. And again, you could take a look at the Jordan Peterson video on this and tell me what you think, whether his was better or mine was better in terms of the explanation of this particular story. I wish you a good night and good mental health.